Hey friends, welcome back to Kiki's Closet. I'm here in Fort Worth, Texas, Casa Mañana Theater. We just opened Spamilton, and today we're talking with some of my amazing castmates. Let's go.
Come and play in Kiki's Closet today.
All right, friends, I am here with the mayor of Broadway, Mr. Jerry McIntyre himself. Hey, Jerry.
Hi, TJ.
What color is your heart today?
You know what it is? I think it's, I don't know, purple? Because, purple's royalty, and I feel lovely.
Oh my
I
gosh.
feel lovely. I had a great day off, so I feel open, and the show is kind of ready.
Yeah, she's ready.
She's ready. So.
Now, I never told you this, but growing up, I watched 2 VHSs on repeat. This is my parents. My parents did this to me. Cats. And what was the other one?
Joseph.
And Joseph.
Dear God.
Of course, your Benjamin Calypso with Donny Osmond is like implanted in my mind. It has been since I was like a kid. How does it feel to be a part of something that is like gonna live on in Catholic schools till the end of time?
And it's one of those things that, I go to like a bar, I go someplace, and I see people watching me, and I'm like, I think I'm famous. I'm not that famous, but so I see people watching me, and I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, were you in Joseph? And I'm like, oh my God. And it happens all the time. And it was like the most amazing thing in the world because the audition was the easiest thing in the world.
What?
I auditioned and I was there for, like, I was on tour with Once in the Silent. So I auditioned on the stage with the Minskoff. I sang the song, I messed it up. I was like, Ika taka, and I walked out and I went to the airport because I had to go to Cleveland. And my agent called me while I was in the taxi and they said, you got it. I was like, okay. I was a disaster. I mean, I wasn't a disaster, I was me.
Right.
So I walked in, I'm like, oh my God, how'd that go for the lyrics?
But I think also like sometimes, and you can speak on this as a director and choreographer, like you want to see people that are human too. And when you do 8 shows a week, it's not always going to be perfect. And sometimes there's going to be like flawed nights and you're not always going to feel your best. But like there's something really exciting about working with someone who like accepts that like, hey, I'm just going to give my best. And sometimes it's not perfect.
Absolutely. Sitting behind the table directing, there are people who come in and they're kind of messy. And those are people I really like and I cast.
You want to be in the room with the wacky people like me.
The room where it happens, the room where it happens.
Wait, now Jerry, you hired me in 2019 for this show.
Oh, dear Lord.
And you started Spamilton in 2016. Did you ever think that this would be the show that you would get to do so many times?
No, this was one of those things again with just life, that it was so easy. That, life just gives you what it's supposed to give you. We always worry and try to like put things in a circle or a square of everything. But it just fell in my lap. Gerard Alessandrini, he called me, goes, I want to do this thing, a spoof on Hamilton. And I said, Gerard, you're really old and white. And he was like, no, Jerry, I got this. And he sent me the script and it was like this. It was like an encyclopedia. I was like, okay, Gerard. And then I just started to do it. I did it in 4 days. Because I was doing another job. So I would come in during the day. I did it in 4 days.
Oh my gosh.
And then all of this stuff happened. And then with Chicago or Los Angeles, London, national tour.
And then Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. No, well, Pittsburgh in the house. Yeah. That's the beauty of just waiting for it. Just breathe. It's going to come.
And you've done it all. Broadway. You tap danced with Patti LuPone, Once on this Island, you said with Joseph, and like you direct and choreograph non-stop. Is there anything you haven't done yet that you really want to?
I still have that dream of like getting a Tony Award for, because since I was a little kid, I was practicing my speech into my hairbrush. But that's when I had hair. So that thing is still possible. The years go by and I'm like, I'm content I did all the stuff, most of the stuff I thought I would do. But I really want to direct and choreograph on the great beige way.
We're making changes.
Yeah.
They're coming.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so much better than before.
Yeah.
It really is.
And it's really been so wonderful to get to work with you over the last 4 years, which is insane. You met me when I was like...
you're exactly the same. You look exactly the same.
Oh, thank you. I guess the pandemic and everything is like, I think we all have just aged so much. And like looking at pictures from my first day of rehearsal in Pittsburgh, I'm like, that was a boy. that was like, I had so much to learn, and of course, like, that's a huge part, and so of course I'm just very thankful that you took a little chance on me and someone you didn't know.
Oh my God, it was.
Show.
I remember that you got the one day you got nervous, and I was like, don't get nervous. Don't get nervous. You're fine. You're gonna be great. You're gonna be great, and breathe through it.
Yeah,
I totally. And now look at you. You've done it so many places.
So many places.
And fantastic.
Thank you.
You're fantastic.
Thank you.
I mean, you know me. I always tell the truth.
I know.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Thanks so much, Jerry.
You got it.
And will you do me a favor? Can
Yeah.
we introduce our cast?
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, Dietrich Bonner, Jason Denton, and Michelle Lauto.
Hey everybody, welcome to Kiki's Closet. Thanks so much for joining me here on your day off to talk about Spamilton here at Casa Mañana. My new coworkers, I'm so excited to be talking with you here today. My first question, what color is your heart today?
I have like color tarot cards. I'm very witchy, and I have lots of like oracle decks, and I have this color deck so I love this question. I think today my heart is like a periwinkle blue. There's a calm about it, something about the weather outside today too.
I would say mine is definitely violet, a deep violet, because I'm reclaiming my power on this day off. So I'm feeling regal, darling.
I'm going to go with green, which might sound like an odd choice, but green is my favorite color. And I really enjoy doing Spamilton, like ever since doing it in London. It's just a really nice feeling for me to be back, and also to be like connected with all of y'all who are fabulous in your roles. So I'm going to go green.
Green like Baby Yoda, my co-host?
Yoda.
Okay. Now, I want to ask you, what was the first time you saw yourself represented on stage?
It has to be In the Heights on Broadway, and in particular, Chris Rodriguez as Vanessa. Everyone comes in all shapes, colors, sizes, just being of multiple ethnicities and stuff. It was so cool to see someone who looked like me playing a role I really wanted to play that I got to play eventually.
I would say the first time where I truly felt seen was singing The Genie on Broadway. That was a role where it was a full-figured Black man who was funny, but who was also a leading man, who was also dancing. Because a lot of times, a lot of casting directors, they see a larger person, they just assume, okay, well, they can't move, they can only do one thing, park and bark. And I saw this character who was fully realized, who truly held that show down. And I was like, oh my God, I finally felt seen on stage. And it was a powerful moment for me.
We're moving in the right direction, I think, in terms of representation for different ethnicities, but we have done zero work on representation for plus size actors, because there's no reason that there should not be more representation on stage, on Broadway especially. How about you, Jason?
I'm not Latino, but seeing In the Heights 2010 in New York, my very first trip to New York, I just visually saw people that looked like me. They might not have the same heritage as me, but it was one of those things of, I have not seen this many people on stage who are like all these different shades. And in London, I always get auditions for the Black role.
I mean, the impact that Lin-Manuel Miranda has made on Black and brown people in our generations to come is like really unmatchable. And I don't know if we'll fully be able to comprehend the impact he's made for decades to come. But I mean, he's kept me indirectly employed since 2013, when I did one of the first regional productions of In the Heights. And then here we are doing Spamilton, a show that I started doing in 2019. 4 years later, I'm doing it again, playing him. And what's really cool is that all of you have a history with the show as well. We have Dietrich from the LA company, Michelle from the Chicago company, and Jason from the national tour, and from London. And I'm from Pittsburgh, and the national tour as well. And so getting to come and work with all of you in this company that Jerry McIntyre has assembled, it feels like an all-star cast. And it's really exciting to revisit this role, which I thought I would never get to do again. And I want to know what it's like revisiting the role for all of you.
The reason I chose to come back to Spamilton is because I've always felt that it was a safe space for me as an actor, because the way the show was constructed, we're all allowed to showcase the best of ourselves. we are given that freedom, which is a lot of times when you step into a role, this is the blueprint. You cannot deviate from the blueprint. And it is what it is. There's no changing of tempos. There's no changing of key signatures. And I think with all of these roles, we're truly allowed to bring a lot of ourselves into the characters, which makes it so much fun. To be honest, I stepped away from musical theater because it can be extremely frustrating and a toxic environment because of all the things we're talking about on today. And so when Jerry called and gave me the opportunity to step back into a role, and he said it was Spamless, and I was like, oh, absolutely, let's go.
It's one of my favorite jobs I've ever done. And it is that thing of we all get a moment to shine. And what I like about doing it this time is that everyone is so unapologetic in their role. And I feed off of that energy. It gives me this permission to kind of really get in there and try not to be so self-conscious as I can be, being a Cancerian and being very sensitive. I get excited seeing the different interpretations. You know, even Zach, who is now our king, who is new to the show entirely, held his own on day one. And we were just like, amazing. A well-cast show, if I can say so myself.
I haven't done Hamilton for 6 years. I did it in 2017. And this was like on the heels of the Chicago company of Hamilton opening up. It was a very exciting time in Chicago theater. I actually moved to Chicago to take classes at the Second City. I was kind of burnt out doing musical theater in New York, and I needed a break. I went to Chicago. I said, I'm gonna be a comedy writer now. And after doing that for a few years, I really missed theater. So I started to get back into it in about like 2015, I would say. I kind of spent like 3 years in Chicago, not doing musical theater, just doing comedy, and got to do some shows. And then Spamilton rolled around, and it was this like unbelievable marriage of everything I love, where I was like, what do you mean I get to sing all these iconic melodies of all these musical theater roles? I get to be, you know, what show do you get to be? Grisabella and Liza Minnelli and the girls from Hamilton. Like, it's this unbelievable showcase. I also got to be a clown. It was the first time I ever didn't have to kiss a man in a show. And the story wasn't about me like loving someone or being like, I'm missing something because I'm the ingenue. Like, I just got to be an idiot and a clown. And if people know me, that's like kind of my baseline as a human being. So it was just so exciting to do that. And I think coming back to it has been a wonderful reminder of that, of how much I love making people laugh, how that's kind of always, since I was a kid, been at the core of why I like performing, is I like to make people laugh. And boy, oh boy, do we need laughter right now. You can kind of say that about any time, but everything feels really grim. So I'm excited to just make people laugh for a few weeks.
The country feels more divided than ever, especially with the anti-LGBT legislation and just straight up racism that's happening every day. Spamilton really feels like the perfect medicine for all the darkness, honestly. And it's a silly show, but there's a lot of heart to it. Our show ends with a little nod to the song Story of Tonight, but we call it Raise a Glass to Broadway, and getting to do that post-lockdown. And it really just hits in a different way. And even singing it now, there's something so magical about theater, and it only exists in that one moment. You can't. That's why it doesn't translate to film, because it only exists in that audience, because the audience, their heartbeats match together, and we all feel that collective energy together. And getting to do a show where people laugh and you feel that laughter, there's nothing like it.
We as live entertainment actors, we have so much power in what we do. It can be a burden sometimes because we are so emotional and we carry everything with us and we leave it on that stage, but there is so much power. And what this country needs to see is if one of us can make a stand, and we are making a stand through what we do, through the arts. And if one person says something, we'll inspire another person to say something. We'll inspire another person to incite change. And so that's also another reason why I love this show, because it's an amalgamation of all different walks of life, and we have power, and we are making a stand to say right is right and wrong is wrong, and we're doing it through the power of music and storytelling.
Spamilton runs at Casa Mañana through April 14th. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. See you soon.
Come on and come and play in Kiki's Closet today.